Highland Workforce Development and Education is proud to present this parental education video. It is one in a series that will provide helpful information on current topics that relate to your school-age children.
Peer pressure is always a topic of interest, and that's our topic for today. Peer pressure is real and it's powerful. Simply stated, it's the effect other people have on the decisions we make. Do adults battle peer pressure? Of course they do. But the pressure that kids are facing today is real and it's powerful. Think for just a minute about some of the activities that you are hoping your children will not feel pressured to try. Did you think about alcohol, drugs, early sexual behavior, risky behaviors? Yes. And would you agree that our parents were worried about some of these same things? They were. But would you also agree that today the stakes are higher and the consequences are more costly? That's why we're going to discuss some ways to help your child handle the pressure. In a survey given to Putnam County students in 10th and 12th grade in 2011, 25% of students said they had attended a party where parents were present and alcohol and drugs were consumed. 29% of students have at least one best friend who has used prescription drugs not prescribed for them. And 15% of students have been asked to sell or give a prescription drug to a friend at least once in their lifetime. You can see from this survey data that friends and peer pressure play a significant role in alcohol use and in those other risky behaviors we just talked about.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
In the well-loved movie, The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy wondered what life would be like beyond the rainbow, beyond the realm of her experiences. Young people are just like Dorothy, and in the process of growing up and discovering themselves, they will face some challenges along the way. Like Dorothy, children will choose some friends who can be helpful or detrimental to healthy development. Let's clarify something. All peer pressure is not bad. Just like in The Wizard of Oz, we had Glinda the Good Witch and the Wicked Witch of the West, some peer pressure can be positive. Good peer pressure is when friends encourage us to do the right thing. These friends respect our opinions and spur us on to greater achievement. Today, however, our focus is going to be on the negative peer pressure because that's what all of us are concerned about. As we continue the theme of The Wizard of Oz, there will be tips from each character. Let's get started with Scarecrow.
What would you do with a brain if you had one?
Do? Why, if I had a brain, I could
while away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain. And my head I'd be scratching while my thoughts were busy hatching if I only had a brain.
Like the Scarecrow who wanted a brain, our children can be unsure about who they are and where they fit in. They're in the process of developing a belief system. As parents, we need to be proactive about teaching them our belief system, our values, what we believe, so that we can empower them to make good choices when they're in situations where they're faced with peer pressure. Imagine your child is like a sponge. A child who is like a dry sponge is going to soak up every piece of information they hear from friends and peers along the way. Like, it's okay to try alcohol just this once. You won't get pregnant this time. Smoking's okay. Cheating doesn't really hurt anyone, does it? On the other hand, a child who is like this sponge that is already filled with a belief system, they're going to encounter some of the same information, but it's going to roll off when held up against what they already know to be true. That child has learned a belief system from the people that love them most, therefore they trust them, their parents. I recently read a quote that said, "Prepare your children for the path and not the path for your children." As parents, we want to remove all the roadblocks and patch all the potholes for our kids. But we can't just teach them what to think. We have to teach them how to think, because we're not always going to be there. We want to instill our children with courage so that when they're faced with pressure from their friends, they're able to stand.
I haven't any courage at all. I even scare myself.
The cowardly lion. The lion had courage all alone, but lacked support from family and friends to help him realize what was inside of him. It takes courage to be leaders rather than followers. Saying no costs a great deal. It can cost friendship and social status or a sense of belonging. Try not to belittle what your child is giving up to say no. And many times as parents, we pressure them into being a part of the in crowd, and that can be a mistake. A key part of growing up well is learning how to make up your own mind and resist following others. Practice should begin at home. If your child wants to make a decision that is different from yours, respect their choice as long as it is not harmful. If your child can stand up to you, he's learning how to stand up to others. There are several peer pressure refusal strategies that can empower your child to face difficulty, danger, and pain without fear. In other words, have the courage to say no. Some personality types will not be comfortable using all of these strategies, then that makes it even more important to become familiar with all of them. One or more of these strategies can give your child the courage to say no to risky behavior. If your child knows your family's belief system, it gives them courage because it gives them an excuse to say no. You get to be the bad guy. I knew there were certain rules in my household that had to be followed. My dad kind of lived like Bill Cosby's theme of, I brought you into this world, I can take you out. One important ploy that will help your child resist peer pressure is knowing that they can text you with an alert and you will come, no questions asked, just call me. Make this plan ahead of time so they know they have an outlet. Having support during those frightening experiences is big. This gives your child a story or excuse to tell their friends. Our children have to know what they will stand up against and be prepared for action. We are waging a battle to save our children. Acknowledge your child for being courageous. I have seen 5th and 6th grade boys in my class sit up straighter and show pride when I have said, that took a lot of courage to say that. It's a simple but magic word.
Well, you're perfect now.
My neck. My neck. Perfect? Bang on my chest if you think I'm perfect. Go ahead, bang on it. Beautiful. What a neckle. It's empty. The tinsmith forgot to give me a heart. No heart?
Tin Man was looking for a heart. What he was really looking for was love. We as their parents can show our children that we love them. Besides telling them, one important way is to show them, and we can do that by listening to their conversations. When you are there to listen to them and listen to their heart, it means so much. Take the opportunity for heart-to-heart conversations. My daughter is 20 now, and some of the best conversations that we had was sitting on the end of my bed at night when she would come in from a date or from a party. She would come in and be so excited to tell me what was going on. Me sitting there waiting up for her, listening to what she had to say, meant so much. It's one of our favorite times that we can remember. Also, I would look for different things when she would come in. I'm looking to see if her clothes were askew, if I smelled any smoke, if I smelled alcohol, so I could just know what was going on with her life. Sometimes she'd bring a friend in there and they would just sit and talk for hours. She still remembers this, and her friends do to this day. During your heart-to-hearts, open up about some of the things that happened to you when you were a child, some of the mistakes that you made. One of the stories that I tell is about me sneaking out in the middle of the night with a friend. We got into a lot of trouble, probably the last time that I ever got a spanking. But them hearing that you messed up and knowing that that's not a good thing helps them to understand that you were just like them at one time. When I'm telling those stories, I'll ask the questions. What would have happened to you if something like that happened? Has that ever been an issue that you've encountered where you asked to do something that you didn't want to do? Encourage your children to invite their friends over to your house. You know, who are they interacting with? Who's the leader of that group? You know, there are so many things that you can pick up and learn by that going on, and you also know kind of the positive influences that are happening in your child's life. You know, I know that, you know, sometimes they'd say, oh, well, we would like to watch a movie. And I'd say, well, what movie do you want to see? And they would suggest something that maybe wasn't appropriate for all those involved. And I would say, you know, I don't think that's a very good idea. So how about I take you to Redbox and we'll pick out one that is appropriate. Remember that loneliness can sometimes be a consequence for doing the right thing. When my daughter was in middle school, a boy tried to sell her marijuana, and she immediately went and did the right thing. All the kids talked about her. All the kids were making fun of her, calling her a snitch. And we were there to support her and tell her that she did the right thing. That kid got in trouble. She was labeled a hero in the eyes of the parents, but not in the eyes of the kids, the ones that mattered to her. So I had to be there to support her, to do what was right. Our kids are looking for love. Let's provide that for them at home so they won't go looking for it somewhere else.
You're out of the dark, you're out of the night. Step into the sun, step into the light. Keep straight ahead for the most glorious day.
All of these characters were traveling down the yellow brick road looking for happiness. And they discovered that Oz, the great and powerful Oz, was a fake. He wasn't great, and he certainly wasn't powerful. He had deceived them into thinking he was something he wasn't. He was as insecure as the rest of the lot. And isn't that the same as our children discover? That what they thought would be great isn't, and what they thought would be wonderful is fake. And we want them to discover this in the very safest place of all, home. What happens when your child caves to pressure and failure occurs? Be sure to give your child the opportunity to express in his own words what happened, and then to think about what he might do differently if the same situation happened again. It's better to have values and beliefs tested while they're still at home, because that gives you the opportunity to guide and correct. In the end, we hope all of our children will conclude, just like Dorothy did, that there's no place like home. We hope they'll realize that we had their best interest at heart and we really did have a brain. Home needs to be a place where children can escape from the pressures of life. It needs to be a place where they feel safe, they have a sense of belonging and security. Is your home a place where your children find that? Make sure they know that there is nothing they can do that would make you love them any less, and nothing they can do that would make you love them any more. I will conclude by quoting a wise teenager who said, "Parents need to fill their kids' buckets so full that the world can't poke enough holes in them to drain them dry."